the Tuesday, October 7th at 6:30 meeting of the Air Shirley Regional School Committee. Did I call the meeting to order first? I would call the regular session to order. Those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is also being audio and video recorded by Air Public Access and ASRSD. Any audience members who wish to record any part of the meeting must inform the chairperson, who will announce the recording. This is to comply with the Massachusetts wiretap statute. The listings of those that are in the agenda are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be also brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Per the Air Shirley Regional School Committee Policy BEDH, public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between citizens and the school committee. It's a citizen's opportunity to express an opinion on issues of school committee business. Citizens will have 3 minutes to express their views, and any staff members addressing the committee are reminded of their obligations under the state and federal student record laws with respect to maintaining the confidentiality of student record information and refraining from disclosing any personally identifying information regarding students. Thank you very much. I'm Joyce Reschutz, and I'm the vice chairperson, and our chairperson is out tonight. We have 4 people out of 6, so we have a quorum. That's next? I thought we were going to do roll call. Everybody would stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Erica is going to do the roll call.
Joyce Reschutz.
Here.
Kevin Bresnahan. Chris Rubricht. Ashley Bernard. Here. Jim Quinty.
Here.
Thank you very much. Here. Thank you. So tonight, we are fortunate to have the student recognition. Mr. Spencer Christie, our principal, and Mr. Adam Rinda, our superintendent, are going to do the MASS Students Award of Academic Excellence.
Well, that was a perfect introduction, and that's exactly what Mr. Christie will do. We are lucky enough to pick one high school student to receive the Superintendent's Award of Academic Excellence. And this award is, the student is chosen through a collaboration of Mr. Christie and other teachers and other high school faculty, and it's a recommendation is made to me. And I don't know why I would ever not take the recommendation of the high school principal, but without further, Mr. Christie will.
Thank you. So I'm thrilled tonight to be able to present this award to Devin Gibbons. Devin is truly what we look for in any Air Shirley student. She's praised by her teachers for her aptitude, her attitude, her go-getter approach to everything in school. She's incredibly involved. She is a star on the robotics team. She's in student government, and you will see her throughout the day and well into the evenings, most days at school. I don't know that Devin has ever gotten anything lower than an A in a course in her life. Just an absolutely wonderful person, someone who's going to go out and change the world beyond her high school career, of which we have 2 students tonight, the other who you'll hear about in a moment. Devin is wonderful, everything we would look for in a high school graduate, and we could not be more proud to have her here tonight to be able to give her this award. Thank you, Devin.
Devin, do you want it? Why don't you come back up and take a picture, Mr. Christie, so we can put this on. Yeah, put this on social media.
Yes.
You sit right in the middle.
Yeah.
I'll hold that open for you. Okay. All right.
Great. Can we get one with Devin's family too?
Congratulations.
Family moment.
Can we please have you guys come as well?
Why don't we get out of it so it's
Yes.
a picture?
Principal Chris, do you want to get in there?
Yes, I do.
There you go.
Any school committee members have any questions?
Congratulations, you're senior, I assume? So what's the plans?
What's my plan?
What are the plans? Fill us in.
I'm trying to go to school for mechanical and robotics engineering after this to continue on robotics. I love robotics, as I said. I'm very into robotics. Yeah, I'm applying to a lot of schools to further that and then hope to continue this STEM internship if that keeps going on this year and hopefully develop. I want to be an entrepreneur, so adding on to the STEM internship and hopefully we can get a product going this year and I can put that on and we can continue that for the years in the future. So, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Did you say there's someone else?
Well, yes, we're very lucky. We have Lucy Ogeson, who's our student rep, who's here tonight, and she's going to talk a little bit about some of what she has going on at the beginning of this year, and it's also incredibly remarkable.
So first off, good evening, everybody.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So first off, last Wednesday, I had the opportunity to compete at the Air Shirley Marching Band at Westford Academy. That was really cool. I played electric guitar, and we won back-to-back competitions, and that was really great. I also, last week, just auditioned for the jazz band, and now I'm second chair alto saxophone, which is really cool because I've never played alto saxophone ever before. Yeah, but as junior class president, we're also like deep into planning or organizing homecoming for October 25. We are hoping to get a pep rally for that, and before we get homecoming, and then also we're hoping to do a 50-50 raffle on the Friday football game. Yeah. Also, being a junior this year, it was really exciting because I had the opportunity to start either an independent study or an internship. And so me and one of my friends, Maria Khan, under the direction of Mr. Moore, we wanted to combine like our interests in medicine and helping others, and in the innovation of like robotics and engineering. So our big goal for that is just to create like an app or website where we can, where anyone from anywhere has the opportunity to choose from a catalog of 3D printed limbs and extensions, and that we designed personally, me and Maria. And the idea is that anybody can input their measurements and their lifestyles so that they can have a customizable, renewable, and affordable arm that we 3D print in the innovation lab with Mr. Moore and send that out to them, because we just believe that it's essential for everybody to have the basic tools that aid us in the things that we take for granted. Yeah. But outside of that, I'm working on starting a shadowing opportunity with the local infectious disease doctor in Air. We're going to figure out my schedule tomorrow, but I'm really excited about that. As for the all-girls robotics team that I really wanted to start last time, I think I mentioned that last time, I've already gotten 5 girls that are really interested in already starting that, and I've reached out to one of my old mentors in middle school. He used to mentor the all-girls robotics team, and we're gonna have a meeting officially. We're like trying to plan out the date officially, but that's really great. I'm hoping that we can start it up soon before the season starts in January. And like academically, I'm basically just trying my best to like keep up with all the AP classes. Most notably, I have an AP class right now, AP Lang with Ms. Capasso, where we're looking at the rhetorical languages of Martin Luther King, and we're making a map out of that, which I think is really cool. And also, at the end of that, I'm working at Dunkin', and I saved up my first $1,000, which is really cool. So hopefully I get a Volkswagen Beetle by Christmas. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Got questions for us? Anything you want us to do?
Do you have questions for me?
I do. Well, I don't have questions. I'll circle back, and I want to say to both of you, great job. Devin, I've had the privilege as a parent to see you around the school and watch you grow. And everything that Mr. Christie pointed out is very easy to see. I think one of the most comforting thing as a parent that I always saw emit from you is in a natural ability to be kind or love those around you, accept them, and work on it together. And I think it is an example that a lot of us can take. And I think that's probably why you've gotten so far as one of those attributes among many. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm really excited for you. And then I am loving what I'm seeing from the ideas and innovation that I'm hearing. And I like that we're tackling different questions and that the level of collaboration seems to be growing, which is really exciting. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Kim?
From here, it's hard to say, where roads may go, but as you end up graduating and moving on to your college career, I hope you get a chance to stay with music. My son was a music education major. He taught at Martha's Vineyard. He's now teaching at Burlington High School, and he's in the trumpet in the Auburn marching band. And Sierra is now at the University of Vermont. She's a paramedic, and she's a forestry major there, but she's also a second chair with the French horn. So it's been my experience that no one has more fun than music people. So even if it's not your major and area of study, if you find a way to stay with that, whether it's jazz band or marching band or with the orchestra, try to search that out and keep the notes flying.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a really interesting, like a good point, because I've always seen music as like a universal language, and I think that's one of the most great things of why I like music is because I feel like it can connect with so many people, and I would really love to continue doing that as with my mission of using medicine and new technology. I think that's really good. I love that.
And it will really broaden your contacts. As if you take a look at those music groups, it's I think the only organizations that has engineers, English majors, philosophies, divinity students. Everybody is in, and they're all connected to that one thing, and it will certainly broaden your perspective as you work through your collegiate career.
Yeah,
Well played.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's something nice to see all these proud parents here. Can't make them get the smiles off their faces, which is rewarding for us people who've gone through this with kids. So thank you guys so much. And how was Houston?
It was great. It was, yes, it was excellent. We hope to go back again this year.
It's a big city. It sounded like it was a good trip. I got that from somebody who was very new in the robotics group, so I had to ask for somebody who maybe knew more.
Devin, please keep us updated. We talked a little bit before about some of the schools that you're applying to. Please let the guidance department know so that we can celebrate that when you're accepted to multiple schools, but whatever your choice is. I won't share some of the schools that she said, but not only are they some of the best schools in New England, they're some of the best schools in the world. So she's going to make all of us very proud.
Good. Don't go to Houston, though. It stays hot, too hot. It's too hot. I just talked to somebody from there today. Anything else? Dr. Renda, what is the criteria for this award? What's the basis for it? What's the?
It's pretty open, but it is for academic excellence. So when we get the notification from MASS, I typically forward the email and reach out to Mr. Christie to say, hey, I don't know the high school seniors as well as you do. Please talk to the teachers and other faculty and choose. And for us, it's just one because of the size of our school. Choose one student that we can give this award to. And they base that on academic excellence, what they give back to the community, how involved they are in school. But the overall theme is academic.
Just nice to know those things. So.
Yeah.
Helps
Thank
us
you for
to
asking.
brag. Helps us to brag. Anything else from anybody over there? Would you like to add anything or jump in? Please do. We're now ready for public comment.
Okay.
I have my time. Do we have any public comment tonight? Is there anything online?
There's nobody online.
Nobody online? Okay. Moving on to the next item, item 7, which is the consent agenda to vote on. It covers September 16th to 25 regular session minutes for release. It has warrants, AP warrant 1043, 1044, and 1049. Those are regular charges. And Then AP warrant 1050, which is the bi-weekly payroll. Warrant 6 is payroll. Warrant 7 payroll. Warrant 7.1 is bi-weekly payroll. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items in the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve those.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The item passes. New business.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
If we could go out of order just for part of the superintendent's report while Mr. Christie is here. We
He just left.
received, no, he's just
Oh.
talking with the family. We received some questions about GPA.
Okay.
There was actually an
So
email
you just want to
today.
take that one section?
Just that one section.
Okay.
And,
Just here, just,
thank you. Mr. Christie, if you could
Sure.
speak to the questions about GPA.
Sure. We had a question come up recently just about GPA and is our GPA calculated correctly? What does this look like? Last year, I had the privilege of working with a truly incredible group of parents to take a look at our GPA scale in relation to a number of other schools. I think we tended to look somewhere between 24 and 30 different GPA scales that are being used within schools in Massachusetts. The GPA scale that we've chosen is actually the most popular one we found. Most notably, this is being used in Harvard Bromfield as well. The last line, and if you turn to the, I printed out for you the school profile. The second page will have a grade point average calculations. And the last line in the box text is maybe the most important, which is student GPA is calculated by using weighted grades over an unweighted 4.0 GPA scale. The scale is based on an A at a college prep level. When students score, and we have many students who score above the 4.0, that's the grade weighting that they're getting over and above that A at a college level. So we are very lucky in that we have some truly incredible students that come here. And what we're able to share with their colleges is their successes. So we believe that this puts them in the best light for any college. But what students will see, and many of them will see this, is a GPA that has a higher numerator than denominator. And I think that had thrown some families off in how could this be correct. It is in fact correct by the way we're looking at it. Any questions?
so the colleges use basically the one that's labeled college prep.
So
If I'm applying my kid to
Yeah.
college, then where they fall in that is going to be what that college is going to require.
So colleges are unique in that what many schools will do is actually take the students' grades and recalculate them based on their own set of criteria. We're not privy to that information, but what we share with colleges is we're basing our grade point average over the A in a college prep scale.
And so this is reported on the report cards as, since I don't have a student there, I'll ask this dumb question.
No, it's a great question, actually. No,
But when I open my kid's report card,
yes.
who's goofing off, I know, but he's a senior in high school. So then the letter grade is going to be there,
Yes, the letter grade, and I would say more importantly, the numeric grade is there.
and then the numeric grade is there. But
Yes.
that's more important.
Yes, and so what we would tell families, and this I think it primarily is more directed towards our senior students right now. When students are applying to colleges are going to receive a number of pieces of documentation from us, one of which is this school profile. When colleges take a look at the grade point average calculation, what they'll be able to see are the scales that we have in there. They'll also be able to see the language we're using on how we're calculating GPA. So they'll know exactly what we're reporting to them.
So anything that goes to colleges, I'm assuming is going to have listed on their application the extracurricular activities they've had, the
Yes.
athletics that they've done. It's not just grade point average that most schools, I would think.
Yeah, I think when students are,
SATs again.
yeah, when students are looking at applying to colleges, there's a range of things that each individual college will ask for. But I think for most colleges and most students are going to be listing their extracurricular activities in addition to their transcript and school profile. Most colleges also will ask for letters of recommendation for students from their teachers, and generally personal essays as well. It's a complex process, but one in which we've seen a lot of success from our students.
Any questions, anybody? Because there was the rumor that if you applied to MIT, everybody was top of their class, everybody was the honor student, everybody was the captain of the football team, everybody ranked here, here, and here, so they take them all and throw them down the stairway, the ones that landed in the top of them.
It's the same. They used to have that same joke about how you grade papers is you throw them down a stairway and you see which one lands at the top and which one lands at the bottom, and that's how you grade them.
Yeah.
I would hope that the criteria is a little more strict than that, but
Well, I think MIT might be a little more strict than that too.
we hope.
But, it was just to keep it light.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. See you, Spencer. Have a good evening. What? Okay. After we have that nice presentation, I feel like we can just leave. Nothing more we need to do. Going back, do you want to jump into the rest of your report or go back to the regular agenda?
Why don't we go back to the regular agenda?
Okay. We have, Charlie is going to give us a 2025 MCAS accountability presentation. Mr. Cleary, we would appreciate your performance.
Performance. Great. I believe you have a copy of this in your packet, and the slideshow is accessible in the drive as well. So you may have a paper copy. Each year we share our MCAS information, our MCAS performance, and I'll go through a few of these pieces to remind folks. The MCAS is ultimately the test or the assessment, to use the proper term, that's administered by the Department of Education in Massachusetts to assess our progress towards academic standards. And then each year, the state puts out accountability reports for each school as well as the district. And those accountability reports have become public in the past week, and so we wait to make this presentation until the information has become public to orient folks to the information that they're looking at. Connected to this, students will be receiving, or families will be receiving their scores. Those will be mailed home or sent home with students this week in each of the schools. So just to highlight a few new things that happened for the 2025 school year, the testing contract was renewed with Cognia, but they added a new subcategory called a subcontractor called E-Metric. We're not quite sure what role they play in the process, but you may have seen in the news that there were several assessments that had to be rescored because of the AI scoring process that didn't work properly, and so a number of different schools had to be pulled to be rescored, and that changed accountability reports between preliminary and final. Didn't impact ASRSD, but I share his information. As a reminder, this is the first year that our high school students participate in the MCAS without the competency determination hanging over their heads, meaning this test is no longer a high stakes, quote unquote, test for them in order to graduate, so that's important to consider. This was the first year for grade 8 civics, so that's something that's been talked about for the past couple of years that they were going to implement. So this is the first year that they officially did it for all grade 8 students. So our grade 8 students actually participated in 4 assessments this year in the spring, which was a lot. And just a refresher, this is still an accountability process, so we're using next generation MCAS for all of our students in grades 3 through 10 in all of our subjects, math and ELA. Science, technology, and engineering happens at specific grades, grades 5, grade 8, and grade 9 or 10. For us, it's grade 9. That means the next generation MCAS is aligned with all of the new frameworks, and it's also computer-based testing that's taking place. There are accountability reports for each school that I mentioned before, as well as for the district. There are percentile rankings that exist for each school in the Commonwealth. There are not percentile rankings for districts, so only school percentile rankings. And those rankings are calculated based on performance from 2024. It's a weighted average. 40% of the performance is from 2024, and 60% is weighted on 2025. So it's a 2-year weighted average that determines what your accountability number is, and then that's compared to all the schools that are in the same grade span that you are in, or testing span that you are in, and then percentile rankings are determined. When we look at the data, we tend to look at our performance over time, and I've shared these images in the past to show what our progress is. We lump all of our grades 3 through 10, and our performance in ELA. So this is English Language Arts. And so what we're looking at, what we look at as a district, when we look at high-level data for this, we're looking at that green curve on the left relative to that gray line. So that gray line is the state average in terms of performances for the percentage of students who are meeting and exceeding proficiency targets on the assessments in ELA. And so we want to be moving away from that line, above it. That's what our goal is. And if we're below it, we want to get closer to it. That second chart in the middle there, which shows the blues on the top and the grays and the reds on the bottom, we're trying to increase our percentage of blues. So you'll notice in 2023, it's kind of a lower number. In 2024, it goes up. 2025, it goes up. And our percentage of students in the grays and the reds gets smaller and smaller. Our goal is really to shrink reds and increase blues. That's really what our goal is, if you look at it from a data standpoint. These are kids we're talking about, so I don't mean to minimize this. But from a data standpoint, when we look at big picture, that's what we're trying to look at. On the top portion, it shows you performance in each of the subcategories for the ELA test, and I'll talk more about this later, but you'll notice that our performance in writing and essays is lagging behind our performance in reading and language. So those are some of the pieces of information that we notice when we look at the information. Then further information is provided in that bottom right quadrant, showing performance relative to grade level, to see where changes are taking place. So similarly, you have a snapshot for math, and it shows us that we are moving towards the state average, which is where we wanted to get to over time. So again, this is grades 3 through 10, and now we're heading in the direction that we intended. Same thing, we're looking for blues to increase and reds to decrease, which we're starting to see. And the categories for the math categories are broken up a little bit differently. And so we tend to focus a lot of our energies on number sense and functions and so on. So that's a lot of our work. So we can see some of the progress that we've been making in each of the grades. I'll talk more about this when we get into noticings that we have later on. In science, technology, engineering, same process. So looking at our performance, so notice that there's a gap forming between the gray line and the blue line that's there. So that shows us that the work that we're doing in science in grades 5, 8, and 9, and 10 is actually making some impact on our students and our student performance. And that's broken down by each of the grades. Middle school has, as you may recall, middle school has adopted Open SciEd as a new curricular framework this year, which is going to tweak some of where we get the standards addressed. And that's going to take a little bit of an adjustment. So I don't want us to, I'm looking at this information and we're like, hey, things are looking really good. There's probably going to be a correction as we go into next year, and then we'll rebound again. So as we implement new curriculum. But as we talked about in the past, the curriculum that we keep trying to implement is intended to engage more students, make the learning a little bit more realistic and exciting and fun and engaging for our kids. And you're going to start to see the benefits of that as well. Sorry, going in the wrong direction. Civics performance, as we would kind of expect, there's no state average that's there. The state average typically in the first administration of an assessment is roughly hovering around just below where we are. So it's usually around 50 is where it ends up. So we're slightly above that. We have a little bit of, this is the first year of the administration of the test. 8th grade has just adopted new curriculum. So we're going to see how this evolves over time. We have a lot of confidence in the curriculum that we've chosen and the teachers that are working with our kiddos that this is going to continue to grow. Just as a reminder, there are 2 parts to accountability. So when we talk about MCAS information, that's just score reports, and accountability is based on two different parts. It's based on how we perform relative to certain targets. And so the state will set targets for us that we have to meet in our achievement for students to perform on a test, and also in their growth from one year to the next. And so our goal is to try to meet those targets, and we get points if we meet those targets. If we meet the targets, we get 3 points. If we don't meet the targets, or if we're at the same level, we get 2 points. If we exceed the target, we get 4 points, and so on and so forth. In addition, there are other measures that are incorporated as well for high school particularly. You'll see student dropout rate and graduation rate, but all schools have chronic absenteeism on there, and that's awarding points for those as well. And this process of taking the accountability and scoring how did you do on the test and how do you do on these other measures is all lumped together into a performance that determines your percentile ranking. And so when we look at our percentile rankings, I have them over time here. So we're focused on the far end of this chart in 2025. If you look at back to 2024, our performances were hovering in the 50s. Our performance in 25 is hovering in the 50s. We're kind of we've made some improvements, some gains in some of our schools. We've slipped a little bit in some of our schools as well. We look at this as kind of like big band performance over time. Our percentile ranking, we're looking at this tells us that we're right in the middle of the state average for each of our schools. So I highlighted, I go back to the slide again because you may not be able to see it and I can't blow it up here from here, I'm sorry, but on your handout you'll probably be able to see it. What I circled on that little category is the percentile ranking, and our progress towards these targets is categorized as either making moderate progress or substantial progress. So we have the majority of our schools are making substantial progress towards our target, and we also we're at least making moderate progress towards our targets, which is what our goal is. We want to be meeting all of our targets, which we're going to be getting to over time, but we're making progress. So what we noticed overall is that there's moderate progress towards our targets, which I just clarified. The achievement has improved, so we've made a lot of curricular implementation and changes over the past several years in ELA and in math and in science. And what we're seeing is that our performance is improving overall, which is what we were looking for. We're getting a lot of points. This accountability determination is based on two different categories of students. You're weighted on all of your students. How do all of your students achieve and grow based on their performance on the test, and how are they attending school? And you're also rated on your lowest performing 25% of your students. And those two categories are weighted equally. What we're noticing is that we are earning more of our points for our lowest performing students than we are for all of our students. So we're shrinking our opportunity gaps and achievement gaps for our kiddos. Our achievement levels, as you saw on those curves on the graphs, are rebounding relative to the state, and in some cases they're expanding and creating a larger gap between the state performance and our performance. The achievement at the grade level is at least near state average, and our percentage of students who are not meeting performance standards or proficiency is significantly below what the state average is in not meeting proficiency. So I highlighted some strengths and some weaknesses here, relative strengths and relative weaknesses. I'm not going to go through all of them, but something I wanted to call attention to is the chronic absenteeism, that we spent a lot of time focusing on that over the past couple of years, and we earned a lot of points for accountability towards chronic absenteeism. So in other words, we're getting our kids to come to school. So the systems that we're putting in place, sure, do we have some tweaks to put in place for certain groups of students? Yes, but overall, our chronic absenteeism has improved. Our graduation rate continues to remain strong. We've exceeded our targets in English language arts for our multilingual learners, and our students with disabilities they've made improvements below the target, but they've made improvements that continue to grow, which compared to other schools or across the Commonwealth, seems to be a big slip in students with disabilities, their performance dropped. Ours dropped, but it didn't drop as much as others. And so that tells us there's clearly something in the assessment tool itself, but also the work that we're doing in the district with co-teaching and providing the supports for our students with disabilities and providing more training on universal design for teachers to make their classrooms more engaging is making an impact positively. Relative weaknesses, you saw it. In the first slide that showed the information, and I mentioned writing, writing is something that we continue to focus on. And so in fact, today is Tuesday. So Thursday, we have a writing meeting with teachers from grades 3, 4, and 5 to talk about how we're working on our writing process, to establish that a little bit more consistently. You'll notice if you look at the accountability report, our dropout rate, we didn't earn points for our dropout rate, but because of our, and I don't mean to minimize this, but because of our size of our school, the dropout rate, if we have 2 students out of a class of 200, we get 0 points for dropout. So the difference between our rate was 1 student when we look at that. So I'm not minimizing it by any stretch, but I'm just trying to show the power of the numbers. And we have to work because of our size. We have to work to make sure that we keep all of our kids in school and get them to get a diploma. That's our job and that's our task. But sometimes students aren't ready for that. I had mentioned before the high school achievement. There are questions across the state, and I've had this conversation with several assistant superintendents when we were talking about MCAS information, is that there was a big wondering because high schools across the state, achievement on the test dropped. And so everybody's wondering the same thing. Did removing the competency determination, that little carrot and that requirement that was on students, did that impact their performance and taking the test seriously? Did it have an impact on them? We don't really know the answer to that question.
Pressure.
But we wonder if that had an impact. So our next steps, I'm not going to go through each of these, but a couple of things I wanted to reference. We have lots of work to do. We look at this information, we share it with teams, we share it with teachers, we have conversations, data meetings, and so on. But ultimately, one of the big picture areas for the year was to refine. The work that we put in, the big things, the big boulders that we're working on, seems to be making an impact, positive impact, and we have to continue to refine and tweak that to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our kids, not just of our kids, not just of some of our kids. And so that means we have to continue to emphasize our tiered systems of support, our tier 1 instruction, like making sure that what we're doing for all of our students in class is really engaging and compelling for kids. We're going to continue with our co-teaching process, and we're continuing our work on equity and fostering a strong sense of belonging for students in our classrooms. You're going to hear over the next month at these at school committees, at school committee presentations, you're going to hear the school improvement plans from each of the buildings, which are not going to go into depth on the MCAS information, but they are going to build upon this cursory view of MCAS. And their goals will be aligned with the goals that are here as well. So this is the precursor for that. So you'll hear some of the things like when Paige Hilltop says, we're working on writing. Now you'll know where that comes from. We're continuing our partnership with the Hill for Literacy. They're going to help us support our literacy coaching model, as well as providing some targeted PD for our teachers. We're continuing the work that we're doing with Allison Mello for math professional development, and we've actually expanded that to include administration this year to start the year, which has been wonderful. Teachers are feeling more supported with the work, and we actually just met with a math leadership team last week, which was great, to kind of develop like our plan of what classroom instruction should look like, to finalize that and clear that up for folks. But our big focus is also to provide folks with more time for collaboration. So we have the half days that school committee has graciously awarded as part of the building the calendar for this year. So we're using that time for folks to collaborate and get together and work on some of this in terms of establishing curriculum and really working on their instruction. And we're also piloting the process of giving some folks taking meeting time and redistributing it into after-school professional learning communities for teachers to collaborate. So we're going to see what impact that's going to have as well. So that's a lot of information, but I try to take all that stuff and try to shrink it down into some little bite-sized morsel. But I am open for any questions that you might have.
Comments, questions? Ms. Meehan.
So for just, I know obviously there's a lot of things that go into those scores, but I noticed that the 2 elementary schools were quite different. Is there anything that you guys could pick up from the data to show why? Or I know you mentioned writing. Was there anything else specifically that you think separated the schools?
At this point, no. We haven't, I mean, each of the buildings is going into a little bit more detail on the depth of their work. I think in each of the schools, we've had some, how would I say this? Writing has still been an issue that we've been focused on. And I think that with a number of the work, with a lot of the work that we've done from a curriculum standpoint. We had a great deal of that work that was in place, and teachers have been practicing. There's been a little bit more continuity at Laura White than there had been at Page Hilltop. And so as a result, that may have impacted some of that performance.
Okay.
And doesn't part of that just rely on the fact that whichever mix of students happen to come together, you're going to have variations anyway? You're not going to have consistent, look at these numbers, they're up, down, up, down, up,
Yeah,
down.
from year to year, you're going to have changes.
Right.
Because it's always a different group of kids.
Right.
When we're comparing, when we look at some of the data, we also look at comparing the same group of students as they progress through the system to see how they perform from one year to the next. And we continue to see that growth happening, which is what we want to see. And that's why the MCAS information, when we share it, you know, my first year presenting this information, I feel like I had 45 slides or something ridiculous. And now, like, in terms of sharing this information, these are different kids, different focus every year, different circumstances for the assessment, different timing. So it's not realistic to expect you're always going to get the same results. We expect them to be in some band, which is what we saw.
I would say that the two elementary schools are more aligned right now than they ever have been. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
So I think I would expect to see a bounce back from Page this year. But I would agree with Mr. Cleary that there's been some changes, some retirements, and some greener staff coming on, so that does make a difference.
I will say that, I mean, each year when we go through this, I don't like the way it's named, the accountability numbers. You know, I don't like the algorithm so much. The whole thing is just like, you're a victim of your own success, the way that they put it together. So it's like, taking a look at how we're doing relative to the state average seems a little bit more cogent, but it must be, and I'm sure that each one of the buildings finds their own way to deal with it, because the knee-jerk reaction always is, you know, you take a look at the data and what everybody here wants is that everybody gets a baseline education that allows them to succeed, right? Everybody wants to get to that, but you also don't want to dial back on kids that are in the rank and file stage, right? The high flyers, almost no matter what you do, they're just going to be there, right? That's just the way it works, right? But it's that middle portion that I always try to make sure that they're giving the time, and I feel very confident, and that's really a leadership thing in each one of the schools to make sure that they get what they need there, and I feel confident that we're keeping an eye on that as we like to strive for numbers, but they're actually people.
That's important. We try to humanize the data all the time when we talk about it. There's an old expression about bringing kids in the room with you, like bring a chair in the room with you, so that you can say who is sitting in that chair while you're having this conversation about students or whatnot, having a conversation about data. So you can remember that these aren't just numbers. Right. We're not just trying to get all these kids who are 499 and cross them over to 500. Like, they're kids. Right. And so this is one, or in some cases 2, testing days that's happening in April or May. And so some kids are not going to be in their greatest, it's not going to be the greatest day for them, you know, and that's going to happen. So that's why we try to look at trends over time. So when I share this information about relative strengths and weaknesses, I mean, I'm pulling out some of the pieces that we tend to pay attention to, but the things that are on the left side, the relative strengths part, those are the things we've been emphasizing, you know, and so of course we're going to expect to see positive outcomes. And we know that we spent most of our time in the elementary grades implementing a new reading program. So we really focused on reading. We focused on reading. And I shared with you like the results of like assessments in the past about reading. And we've shown like pretty substantial gains over the past couple of years. So now that we have reading, now we got to work on how do you apply reading, which is in writing. And so that's the next phase of this. So I wish it could just go like that. Believe me, there's nobody who wants to move faster than me. But we have to remember that these are adults, professionals, and kids. Like, it's going to take time. People have to learn, practice their craft, work on it. And they're kids. I mean, I spoke to teachers after this who were not happy with their results. They were like disappointed. And I would try to help to validate how they feel, but also put it in perspective for them. But one of the teachers has shared with me, one of my strongest writers, who writes routinely, whole 5-paragraph essays, pages and pages and pages and pages of stuff. On test day, wrote 2 sentences on the response. Was just done. Didn't want to do it. And that is the score that ends up on here. And everybody's like, well, we try not to overreact. That's why I treat MCAS, and I've had teachers come to me, this is great. And I'm like, I'm writing a band here, people. Like, it's one test, it's 2 days in the spring. It tells us about our standards.
It's small picture.
Let's look at it, let's learn from it, let's fix our instruction to make it so that it can continue to grow. That's what we want to do. So I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I do want to make it feel tangible.
That's a great point too, because we get those results. We can show our students, here's what you did last year. Here's your writing. This is your writing portfolio and your 5-paragraph essays. And here's how much you wrote. And here's your test from last year, 2 sentences. That's your score. And here's the rubric. And this is what, if we scored this piece for MCAS based on the rubric that you wrote on, 2 weeks prior, you would have gotten this score. So, I think it's fair to show students how they did and how it was scored, because this isn't going to be the only time they have to take a test that is going to mean something for them in the future. So just to maybe create a little bit of agency for that, we have to find ways to do that and not stress them out, right? And that's a fine line to walk. So we don't want them to stress about it, but we want them to do their best work, and finding that balance sometimes can be tough.
I will say, I think there is some stress for the kids that are taking it for the first time.
Yes.
I have a now 4th grader, and I think the teachers were trying to prepare them, but it actually sent him into quite a tizzy.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, I don't feel well, I don't want to go to school. I'm like, just take it, it's okay. Like, however you do is how you do. So I do think, you're going to have different types of kids. Sometimes the kids don't care. My oldest was losing his mind. So I think it just depends who the kids are,
Yeah, and that's why it's such a tightrope to walk, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want anyone feeling like that.
Yeah, you want to prepare them, but
try your hardest, right? But so it's...
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, so I don't. I'm sure the teachers were doing
We're
their
not
best,
grading
but-
you, we're grading us.
Yep. Right.
Not you, it's us. This is our grade.
Yeah.
I was surprised I'm sorry, somebody else, anything, Jim? Erica?
I would just say on the last comment, the only thing I can think of is, as weird as this sounds, I almost liken it to when we have to go into like anatomy, when you have to have that conversation with kids, and it usually is around 4th grade. It's almost like you have to set it up the same way of like explaining to them what is the standard, what's the purpose of the standard. And because it's so droll, the kids tune out, which probably isn't the best, right? But at the same time, there's probably, just to disarm anxiety. But at the same time, just let them know, hey, we're just trying to make sure that we're giving you the best education possible. And this is kind of one of the ways, one of the mechanisms in how we do that. We just want you to do your best and represent your best self. We don't want you overdoing it. We want you being you. But, that's what it is. But that's very hard to communicate on several levels. I still have a hard time communicating with someone who's been with me for 18 years of her life. So I appreciate what you're trying to do.
It's a teenager. How many years, I know there was a big fracas about putting civics in and stuff, but to grade this last spring, 8th grade physics, did we really have enough, everybody in the state, not just us, but was there really enough basis to start testing civics at that time point?
Yeah, it's been, it was my first year, 2018 is when the law passed and when the curriculum frameworks were released and when civics had to shift into 8th grade. So it's been 7 years for folks to...
Minus 3 years of COVID.
Yes. But it's been, that's about what they estimated. They estimated it to be about 5 years by the time the test was going to be ready.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much on schedule.
Yeah.
We opted not to participate in the pilot the year prior because we were not keen on having our kids take multiple tests. And so this year was required for everybody in 8th grade.
So the 8th grade is still just 2 days, or do they have more than that since they have?
They have 2 days for civics, they have 2 days for science, 2 days for math, and 2 days for ELA. So they have 8 days of testing.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's spread out over from April, roughly April break, a little bit before April break until the end of May. So it's, 4 tests, 8 days of testing.
By the time you get the 4th one, I'm just putting my name on it.
Yes. And that, I
Middle
mean,
school has the most testing.
Huh?
The middle schools have by far the most testing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's every grade level, multiple tests.
And are they going back to, are they putting into, are they injecting? Because, this is nice that we're looking at civics and we're looking at math and et cetera. Is there anything with just functioning with decision-making? There's no inventive, this is all just basically,
no, not for MCAS
no,
purposes.
but nothing else really either.
Well, I mean,
But we're being graded on this and they have to do something, but still someone needs to keep.
yeah, I don't want to call them soft skills because they're really the hard skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those are embedded into the teaching and learning structures that we're choosing
That
in
we're doing.
class.
Right.
So when kids are participating in project-based learning and, when we walk into the middle school and we see kids facing off against each other in the hydraulic shooting a dart process across the foyer at the middle school.
Can I do
That
that?
was great.
Like, that's where it's at.
Right.
That's what the learning is supposed to be. And those are the skills that we're looking to develop in our kiddos. So, I mean, yes, there's content that underlies all of that, and sure, they have to understand hydraulics and motion and forces and, so on and so forth, but really it's about the iterative process they're going to go through in the engineering process. That's what I'd rather see, and that's what we're working on.
Anybody else? Anything? No. Thank you, Charlie. It was
Sure.
Thank you.
I think maybe I understood it this year. It took me a
That's
while. Not a fast learner. No, it's very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Plunkett, you are new business B, budget closeout, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reshoots. FY25 was a very challenging year financially. We had the shelter come online November, December of '24, and right away we found ourselves trying to transport kids from the shelter to Page Hilltop in middle school. Our buses were already at capacity, so we ended up using the van. We had one 14-person van at that point. We ended up getting a second one, and so we could shuttle kids over. And that helped out quite a bit. But we had another wrinkle in the fold there, where the families that were at the shelter had the opportunity to send their kids back to the LEA where they resided before, or where they were enrolled before. So we were fronting money to transport kids from the shelter to Boston, Lowell, Haverhill. We had kids going every day, and we had to front that money. That was about $200,000 that we had to front. We ended up getting about 75% reimbursed, but that was at the end of the year. So it already had stretched out an already thin budget. So going back to March of last year.
If I could just interrupt for a moment. I'm sorry, I'm catching up on messages. Did the school committee wanted to table this discussion?
We were looking at that.
We were just trying to figure it out for ourselves and know the numbers, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and
My
then-
apologies for interrupting.
That's okay.
I'm just catching, I just saw the
Yeah.
message, I wanted, but we're okay to continue?
So, well, we were looking to table it only because we didn't have our other two members, and with it being the closeout,
Okay.
we wanted to give them the opportunity, but because we found out so late, I didn't get the chance to reach out to let you know. Bill, because I know you worked on the presentation, and I want to respect the work that you've done, but because we're missing the other two, and with this being the budget, we wanted to make sure that all the numbers were here. Is that okay? Would you be able to present
That is,
at the next meeting?
That is a decision of the school committee, we're
Yeah.
fine with it either way.
Okay, so I just, no disrespect to you at all, Bill. because I know that it took you a lot to put this together. And I want to make sure, well, we wanted to make sure that we got the proper due for that, and then make sure that we're all on the same page moving forward. So do I need to make a motion, Joyce?
I was reading down through Bill's highlights here, which are quite decent and pretty clear. If you, because who knows, who might not make it to the next meeting, so do you guys just want to hear this?
That's fine.
And then you can see how you feel about it?
I mean, if we're not willing to vote, I don't want to put you through during the presentation twice. Are you saying that once he gets through it, we'll decide whether or not to vote, or are we decided on not voting?
There's no vote.
We're not voting.
There's no vote?
There's no vote needed.
Information.
Just information only.
It's all informational.
Go ahead.
Then they can watch the playback and catch up on their
Okay.
You
I mean,
don't
not trying to be
watch
rude,
the
but like,
playback.
that's what I had to do when I couldn't attend, so just figure it out. That's my opinion.
Now how do you feel like being interrupted? Can you go again? Want to start from the beginning?
Oh, good, I get to go?
You want to go from the top? Take it, Bill.
Yeah, I think we were talking about, when we certified the budget, the general fund is the appropriated budget that the towns are assessed upon, was certified at $33,424,000, just under $425,000. As of June 30th, the end of the fiscal 25 fiscal year, we had $34,076,720 in FY25 expenditures, leaving a deficit balance of $651,000, which is 1.95% over budget. I called our auditors right away, and they assured us that this deficit balance, may be applied against our undesignated fund balance, which gets certified during the E&D certification process. And as of June 30th, we had a $1.6 million balance in our undesignated fund balance. So that will be applied during the E&D certification. I wanted to point out that salaries are the largest piece of the general fund budget, and there's a salary report I included as well. All salaries together in the general fund were budgeted at $17,493,000, and expenditures came in at $18,985,000. And this resulted in a deficit budget balance of $1,492,598, or 8.53% over budget. Fortunately, we had a large positive balance of $966,000 in our out-of-district tuitions, and I want to give thanks to Mrs. Bozick and her team for working on the circuit breaker, which is a revolving fund that we have every year enough money to move out-of-district tuitions into to free up for more expenditures in the general fund. So it's a great fund to have, and it's a lot of work. So I want to thank Mrs. Bozick for all the work she does on that. We also applied the emergency assistance shelter funding of $588,000 that we received $104 per day for each student from the shelter, and that was reimbursed at the end of each quarter. And like I said, the students started in December of '24, and students that remained, the number fluctuated just like choice would, but the number of students was like 16 to 24, based on the number of days that they attended school, so that were enrolled at Air Charlotte. So that saved us, that freed up and made our deficit a little bit smaller. The next section down, I wanted to put some of the highlights that we're going to be watching going forward. Facilities, the whole cost center was over $286,000, and that was mostly utilities, and we found that paper products were way up. And I have a report that I've included that shows the facilities over the last 5 years. ABA specialists, we've added several new positions. Some of the ABA specialists have taken the place of paraprofessionals, but they are new positions, and we did not properly budget for them as we added them. Psychological services, we have 2 FTEs in the budget, but we have not been able to hire a second psychologist. So we have 1 on staff, and we use contracted services for the remaining evaluations and testings that we have to have done. Page Hilltop teaching, we did scale back the preschool by 0.5 teacher and added 2 full-time 1.0 SPED teachers due to the rise in student needs and the numbers of and the needs of those students. So that was something that we absorbed into the budget, and that was an adding factor to the deficit as well. Translation services, we saw were over budget by $57,000, mostly due to the EH shelter in there. Property insurance, we had some valuation changes because of the field project. And paraprofessional salary expense increased over $300,000 over FY24. So the services that are needed by the children and the needs have really caused that increase in salaries for the paras. And the last thing I have here is the budgets that I included. If anybody wants to go over them, if you want, we can do it remotely, or you can come in. I'm more than happy to go over these reports.
As long as it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Is the paraprofessional increases that due primarily to additional positions that were not forecasted?
For which one?
Paraprofessionals, it's up by 36%.
Yeah, over the past 2 years, I believe is it 8 positions? We've had 8 students move in that have on their educational plan a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2 para.
Right.
So these are move-ins over the summer or late in the school year that we were not planning or budgeted for, but we legally have to provide.
So is this balancing with, if they have that and they're moving in with that, then a one-on-one para is better than a district out by
I
a
don't
long
know.
shot?
I don't know if that's true any longer. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I mean, if what we don't want to do, as far as financially, I don't know, because some of our
Because I know that
collaboratives are less, but that's not how we make.
we still have transportation that you didn't have.
We do, but we don't make the decision based on the finances of that.
Right.
We make that decision based on what is the least restrictive environment that this kid can receive their education, and we hope it's with us, right? So it's a tremendous expense. But if they can stay in their home school and be educated at one of our 4 schools, then we have an obligation to make sure we do that. And we do, I think, a very good job of that. But whether or not it's which one's more fiscally reasonable, I don't know if it's the one-to-one pair anymore. I don't know.
Well, it's always a
It's
decision
close,
based
right?
on the
A
student.
collaborative cost for placement on a collaborative. Can I put you on the spot, Mrs. Bowler? Absolutely.
It depends on what's in the student's IEP and what we can claim back what we can claim back for that. So sometimes if we have a student in an out-of-district placement, we're able to apply circuit breaker, and we were able to also have the transportation reimbursed for the district when Mr. Plunkett was talking about that circuit breaker piece, that number. But when we have a student in district, we cannot claim back that transportation piece. So I think what Dr. Renda's saying is sometimes with the paraprofessional, the health insurance, those things, the cost may be the same. But I want to re-emphasize that it is really important that we provide programming in our school district so that our students are able, in Air Shirley, to attend their home schools with their typical peers. And if for some reason that does not work and we get to the table and we're not the least restrictive environment, then we have those next questions. But I do think it's really important that we have had the support of the school committee and both of the FinComs from Air Shirley to be able to build programming, because we are seeing a substantial increase for our specialized programming. We've had 8 students alone move into these programs in a short amount of time. So, which is why we're moving a program over to Page Hilltop and trying to be ahead of this all the time. And we're constantly having these conversations in cabinet each week as well. So.
And I think from a budgeting standpoint, when we have these move-ins, it's difficult to plan for it. And so from a wondering standpoint, as we build the budget going into 27, something I think we may have to consider is how do we look at move-ins and the cost that we may incur as a result of move-ins, and if that's something that we can put in to our budget in preparation for that kind of thing, that may be something we have to do.
Because oftentimes with that comes the contracted services piece. So I'm contracting services from Easter Seals or one of the collaboratives, CASE or CAPS or Keystone, to do some of the services for our students in district, because our related service providers can't handle the caseload that we have. And if I need orientation and mobility services and augmentative communication, we're doing a lot of contracted services. I think I'm in the company here. So we have to take that piece into account as well, is the services that the students need for their IEP. We've done a good job in district in building our IEP so that, because our goal is always the second that we qualify a student with a disability, we want to do and put things in place so that we can build their independence. So eventually they can, our hope is that they'll be able to reduce services and be independent learners. That's what we want for every single student that we have. And we build their IEPs sometimes with like a 1 to 3 model, so that they'll have one paraprofessional that oversees 3 students, just so that we don't have a student tied to somebody all day as well. But the IEPs that we're getting in district, which I've been keeping all the data on, Charlie, they are coming to us with one-to-ones in them, and we have to honor, we have to provide what's in that IEP to the best of our ability in our district to try to mirror the services they received in another district, the sending district.
Many times.
There is some actual good news with this too. I know sometimes when you see that we're over budget, you wouldn't think there was good news. However, we have built very razor-thin budgets the last couple of years, because we're trying to have an assessment, not only what we need, but keep the assessments down for the town so that they can do what they need. And we fully understand that we are the biggest cost as far as budgetary for both towns. But both the overage with the paraprofessionals and with part of the facilities, we could have used some of those reserve accounts, the sped reserve account and the cap stabilization account. We didn't have to do that for last year. The undesignated funds is going to cover the overages. So that is some good news. Now, I think some of what we need to do moving forward is change how we're making some of these estimates with this current information.
You have to be honest with them, but you also have to protect the fact that these are kids that we're taking care of.
Absolutely. We need what we need in order to run the district. And so, the undesignated funds is going to cover this overage. But we're going to have to make sure our estimates going into next year are more accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
So the translation services, that was over budget by $57,000. The shelter's not there anymore, and that was mostly because of those students, which we got reimbursed. Did we break out even with the reimbursements and the transportation and everything? And the payments they made, did it come out? Although it upset various individual budgets.
The translation, we wouldn't be reimbursed for.
No, I know.
But
we did, yeah.
for the teaching salaries, we used a lot of it for teaching salaries and transportation.
The amount the state calculated, and by no means do we want to put, are we trying to say that it's the shelter for this overage. It would contribute it, just like if we had 26 kids move in that weren't in a shelter, would contribute to budget issues. That's a large number of move-ins, 26 kids. But the way the state had calculated, I believe about $103 a day. That came out to about just under $19,000 per student if they were with us for all 180 days. That's about what it costs us to educate a child in this district. It's just about, it's almost spot on, actually. So that money is essentially break even for what it would cost us to educate child. So it wouldn't have covered
I think
translation
we
services or anything.
covered that before and came up just about the same.
It's just about the
conclusion.
same, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, is there a chance to sit down with Mr. Briggs and the building people to take a look at utility stuff, mostly, overnight lighting, maybe you steal a degree or two here or there, times 7 or 8 months. Probably a lot of that stuff would happen and not raise agita anywhere across. I mean, a couple of times I'll be out on the service calls and you'll drive by and be like, oh, there's cargo parking lot lit. Or you sit there and you're like, there are exterior doors with lights on. You're like, well, maybe motion detector, and if you have something like that, then it will be much more apparent. If there was no light, and all of a sudden the light turns on, that gets people's attention. If the light is on all the time, I know it was probably initially set up as security, but I'm like, I don't think it provides any security after a certain point. But I think we should do that, and because a lot of the things you come up with could be applied district-wide. And over the course of the year, I think would, claw back something. And really, I mean, let's help the planet a little bit too, right? And if we can take that money and put it into helping kids instead of letting up. I'm a big dark skies guy, and we have really nice sweatshirts over there with logos and stuff on them. So I think we should maybe take a look at that and say, maybe we can head a little bit down that road too.
Yeah, I don't think we can afford not to look at that.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And if you'd like to be part of that, we can certainly send you an invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And all the members, of course, if you want to be part of any of these meetings, we're happy to have.
Did we stop you? Did we?
Good then.
Are you ready to go? Is there more?
Anyone, or did you finish?
I think we're done.
Yeah,
I think we're done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Your comparison was the next, which I didn't get to the 50, I didn't get to the back page.
Oh, for Paris?
He referenced it. I know he did in the front. So since we have Tara here, Tara, were you planning on coming some other time? How many district Gap kids are we running these days? I'm not putting you on the spot, just give me a...
Oh, no, that's okay. I feel like I know this. We have 29 students out of district right now. And I do remember being here at times and telling you there were 43 and 45. So I feel as though we are doing better at being able to keep students in. And I want to say out of that 29, probably 12 of them have moved into district and out of district placements already. And it's very hard to take a student that's already in and out of district placement, especially in a new community, and then have them come back into district to try the programming. We always strive for that, but we always keep in the back of our mind too, like what is the best for that student.
But I think that's kind of the lowest number we've had
Yes.
in a while, isn't it? Because we had an influx of SPED students one year. I think the pressure that we're going to have here is the number of new buildings, number of new residents that are springing up like mushrooms in both of these communities. And we're going to see not huge, but definite increases. And these houses that they're putting in that said they aren't going to have kids in them, right. So I think that's what we're going to be, is going to be our budget pressure, is more students to take care of. So, good, Tara, excellent. 29, that sounds like a huge success. And it's good for the kids, because they're not on the buses, they're in the community, and, congratulations. I'm sure you're going to do that later in another meeting, but I've got you here now.
I'm ready.
Thank you. Anybody else? Kim? Erica? No. You can just hit me. Thank you, Bill. That does, so we're solvent. Can I add all these up together?
Yes. We're over budget, but it'll be applied against our undesignated fund balance.
Right, so we don't have to go and put 10 cups out tonight, right? It's okay.
We can still do that.
We won't
A bake
start.
sale? Can we do a bake sale? That's how our schools were supported. That's why that was such lousy transfer education. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything?
That's it.
And so I will see you what time tomorrow morning? Can I come? I need to sleep. Thank you, Bill. I know that's way more than I can ever do. We have item C, approval to increase building rental fees for athletic fields, auditoriums, non-resident, and for-profit organizations.
So to keep on the theme of budgets, we've recently it has come to our attention that what we charge for our field rental and our auditorium is, like our user fees, considerably less than all of our neighbors. So we would like school committee's approval to raise the rental fees of the field complex and our auditoriums for non-residents and for-profits that are non-residents. So this would not affect the rec department, local youth sports, the pickup men's basketball league that rents the gym, or the Shirley Arts who uses the auditorium. Typically, what we charge rec departments is only, if they're on the weekends, it's the cost of the custodian. If it's a weeknight, it's nothing. But our fields get used quite a bit by for-profit, for state tournaments, and we're charging, I believe it's $100 an hour. We would like to up that to $200 an hour. Many of the local fields around, our field is rented constantly. And we know, first of all, it's a beautiful complex, right? So people love to use it. And we're the best deal in town. Even at $200, we're going to be the best deal in the area. We don't think it would affect the renting of it at all. But it would bring in some more revenue. And the same with the auditoriums. We would like to move the auditoriums from, I believe it's $100 an hour now, to $150. And again, that is still going to be very competitive, if not the best price around. You know, and my apologies for not picking up on this last year, but you know, we're increasing the user fees for our parents. We should certainly increase the user fees for people that are not taxpayers in Aaron Shirley for using our facilities. So.
Do we have a schedule or a list of these, which items we lease out and stuff? So, and an idea of what the revenue is from those applications?
We have a software that tracks the application process and then invoices the groups, and then we actually take that information into a report and then deposit it into our revolving accounts.
Do we have a history here of how much we brought in? Well, with the new field, that should have bumped quite a bit, right?
I don't know if we have it tonight, but we can absolutely, we do have that information, but I don't know if it's readily available at this moment.
Oh, and so generally we plow those back into building maintenance, don't we? We don't.
That has gone to
ground and building maintenance.
We kind of tap it for, that money is tapped for that purpose, because that's what it would need, would be the maintenance from the use, right? Am I wrong?
No, that's...
I'm guessing. Anybody else be interested in something like that? Thank you. So if we, you know, it would be interesting to see what the schedule is and the amounts, right?
Yeah, we can absolutely provide that for you at the next meeting.
Anybody else want to see that too before we vote to approve? Not exactly what we're approving?
I'd be interested in seeing it, but I think a vote would be fine.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with
Yeah,
it.
clearly, I think we should, at a minimum, be voting the athletic fields or the auditoriums tonight.
Okay.
If something else comes into play, fine, but right now we can.
Would you like to
easily
make
do
that motion, please, Jim?
Yeah, I move that we increase the rental fees for the athletic field from $100 to $200 per hour, and the rental fees for the auditorium from $100 an hour to $150 per hour.
Second?
Any other discussion? It's been motioned and seconded. I would just have one question. I know we have, like, some people who practice at the middle school auditorium. They have,
Shirley Arts.
well, Shirley Arts is there doing performances, but who are the guys? Neshoba Orchestra.
The Neshoba Band.
The Neshoba Band. So do they fall into like a community group?
Kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I mean. It's like-
Rachel Fletcher
There
is
can be some great,
a member of it,
yeah.
so they do practice there.
I think they also were very instrumental in part of the middle school production in the spring, their
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
Because they were certainly, some of those people were certainly part of that. So kind of a
It's a
great,
good connection.
huh?
It's a good connection.
Right, so I mean, so,
There's always nuance, and if
Right.
Mrs. Fletcher would certainly not have any problems reaching out to us to express why there should be an exception, and we would absolutely listen, right? Because she does a wonderful job, and if they are helping us with our middle school
With our
productions, which are
programs
like
and-
top-notch,
yeah.
then to me, that is a local organization that we want to support.
Right.
yeah, by the way, that was a wonderful performance they did that night. It was
It
great.
always is. He does a
Yeah.
great job.
It's very good. Fortunately, I got to see it. So there's a motion on the floor to go from 100 to 200 and from 100 to 200 and 100 to 150 for the fields and the auditoriums. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Done. But if we could request maybe to see the whole, because there's other things.
Yeah, get that. Building.
You want to see the revenue?
Well, and just like, what else do we rent? What else could we rent, you know? Because most of it's our
The other
public
major
citizen.
thing, I'm sure there's there's times that people want to rent cafeterias, but it's the elementary and the middle school gymnasiums. But really, the rec departments in the winter.
It's the rec
really,
departments are
They
doing it.
kind of own those.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember this, but I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but we had made the decision to prioritize the rec departments in both towns over some of the other local high schools that sometimes would rent our spaces. And they're not renting, these other local high schools aren't renting these spaces anymore, but our youth basketball programs and whoever else uses that gym, I mean, they're booked out. But the only thing, again, that we charge the rec departments is, I believe, is the cost of the custodian that has to be on. We're not interested in charging our parents for the rec departments an hourly rate to use a gym that is theirs.
Well, the other side is the more people come into your facility, the more they're going to support it.
Yeah.
So the more your community is involved in your organization, I think you gain
Right,
way
and
more than you will for pennies.
this is really to not increase the cost. We've already increased costs to parents, right? So this is an increased cost to other vendors who want to use our facility, so that money can then be used to support kids.
Anybody else? Since you brought it up, are we having a reaction to that increase?
No, I haven't gotten an email or phone call or anything about user fees. We have some students who have worked out some ways to work off the user fee with Mr. Kendall. It seems like people, our families understood it was a really good deal, and now it's still a good deal if you look at our fees as compared to other local youth sports that can cost thousands of dollars for a season. We haven't really had any pushback unless
When you
YouTube
put
will
something
take
in,
calls
it's
that I
kind of like,
call out.
is that going to work? Good. Item D is middle school pathway exploration policy.
Thank you.
Dr.
So
Raymond?
recently, within the past year, the acceptance policy to the trade schools, the CTE schools, has changed. It is now done by lottery. And this will be the first year that our students who apply for Neshoba Tech in 8th grade will be picked at random. The good news for our students is that they usually have more slots for us than we have students apply. So probably any of the students who want to go will go. That's not the same for many tech schools in many cities. So the state recently changed that. This is kind of an add-on policy to that. The tech schools wanted to make sure, with it being a lottery, that all students were aware of their options for high school. This policy is not going to change how we do business at all. We are already doing all of these things. In this policy, this draft policy was written by all of the schools that send it to Neshoba Tech, and Denise Pigeon, the superintendent of Neshoba Tech, who I have to say is fantastic to work with. So what this is essentially putting into a policy is saying that we will advertise that Neshoba Tech is an option, that will allow Neshoba Tech to come in and do an assembly in the school, that we will have a field trip, that Neshoba Tech will pay for transportation to send our 8th grade students to tour Neshoba Tech. During the school year, we will advertise through our email and website. We will allow Neshoba Tech to come into the middle school to do interviews, use other online resources, and that we will provide them with any admissions records that they need, and that we will maintain a log of what we have done to make our students and parents aware that Neshoba Tech is a possibility. So that is the summary of this policy. This is really based on the model policy provided by the Department of Ed. But again, we are doing all of these things. I have to say that we have a very positive relationship with Tech. They take a really in the past, when it was more of an application process, they took a well-rounded and a representative population from Air Shirley. They weren't just taking all top students. They took about 20% of the students they took were special education students. With this new lottery, that could change. It would probably stay fairly similar. My guess is if they're drawing names from a hat, it's probably going to be fairly representative most years. So we don't envision any issues with implementing this policy. Again, it's really business as usual for us. The only real difference is the maintenance of records, where we need to keep a list of what we're doing and be able to provide that to the Department of Ed upon request. So we now have to keep a log of what we do every year, where in the past we didn't. All of this, all of these other mandates is really business as usual for us.
I would say that the overall, the present administration of the tech school is easy to work with, really. I don't really have any issues with that. I don't have any issues with the tech schools. We have had some problems in the past on how they're managed and the message that students were getting when they're over there. I had a number of kids that I talked to that were especially tenants. And after trips, they were explained that they can take AP classes. This is an alternate route to college, all that sort of stuff. But when you take a look at the numbers of how many of those kids are succeeding in AP classes and how many of them are graduating with 4-year degrees, that doesn't exist. If you're looking to go to college, this is where you have to be looking, if that's going to happen. I don't think that, I mean, that was a while ago, so I don't know how that message gets sent over there. Now, the state has made, I think, helpful changes in making sure that there's equity on who they take, because in certain places they were cherry picking to any criteria that they wanted to have. But the other aspect that I want, and I don't think it impacts this policy at all, is our ability to provide some training information on, say, cooking. You know, light things. We're not going to take our students and put them on a path to being chefs or line cooks or any of that. But, you know, as all of these kids move forward, I mean, I'm always aghast when I go on all 3 of my kids as they get into college, because all my kids could cook from the time they were small. I can still remember watching the Patriots play Indianapolis and have Sarah screaming at me in the 4th quarter that she's plated. They had to get up to get out of there, you know. So they learned early, but as they got into college, they were, I mean, it's amazing how many kids are just getting DiGiorno frozen pizzas or whatever they can do to get through. And I think as a basic home economic standpoint thing from that, I think we have to find some way, I'm not sure how to do that, to allow us. I know that there are restrictions in what we're going to do, but we're not trying to create a track. We're just trying to give them some life skills that's going to make them healthier and more successful later on. So, like I said, I don't think that really engages this, but I think it's something that we need to take a look at. Everybody wants to have well-rounded students, and this is one aspect right now that everybody's sort of hands off because the rules were different. But now we're in a time where the rules are in a state of flux, and this would be the time, if you're going to do something, when you would do it. So I think we should explore that.
Yes, ma'am.
Building off of Jim's idea, actually, the example he gave, I know we have like our finance course, right, our finance class, which I think does an excellent job of kind of reviewing what life looks like after school. And I think exactly what he's talking about, life skills. So like, for example, with Rihanna, I got her, Walmart and Target both have these mini kitchen tools. So not just the convection oven that we were all used to bringing with college, but they can get an induction stove with a little pot, and they're all college safe. I have to teach her how to be able to prepare her own meals because she can't use what typical colleges use for preservatives. So like just going back to that, general life skills, because we recognize not every kid's going to college, but maybe there's an area or opening now that, just like Jim said, the laws are in flux, maybe not necessarily in the finance course, but maybe creating something to come alongside that where it is maybe more of a life skills that every kid would need to know regardless of however they choose to live their life after. I think that would be a great idea, just because you happened to say it before I forgot it.
Anybody else? It strikes me that for where they have Neshoba Valley Tech School and the Chapter 74 approved programs, that doesn't say that they have all these programs, right? And why would our dictate of their programs be in a policy that we have to do? Because
these are.
Am I just reading that wrong?
These are the programs.
Ideals, but they don't have all those.
No, I believe these are all the programs that they do have. I'm going to have to double check that, but I believe, because there was, the original version of this also included Monty Tech because of, and there was different programming.
It did, so.
It did, right. It was, Monty Tech offers some different programming than Neshoba Valley. I believe these are all the programs that Neshoba Valley offers.
Because I know they cut out quite a few. So that's why I'm looking at this going, I don't think they do that anymore. I could be wrong. It just strikes me that we're not going to, our policy says that we have to allow all the kids to do what we have to do. And that's already here.
It's saying
And
that we have to
I'm sure this is the boilerplate way it's written, but I'm like, does that mean we can go over and check Neshoba Valley and see if they're teaching automotive collision repair and refinishing? And if we're not, then we can't do anything. I mean, that paragraph is like, not up to us. They could be teaching ditch digging and nothing else. And
I interpreted that maybe a little bit different, like we were just basically stating that whatever they were approved for, and we happen to list what they're approved for, but essentially we're just identifying that it's in relation to the programs they're approved for, not necessarily that we're holding
that they're going to do them or not do them.
Yeah.
Right.
But maybe my interpretation's wrong, but that's just how I was reading it, was whatever the school is offering that has been approved, and we happen to list it.
Right.
So is this a policy because they would change their programs? Is this a policy that we would look at yearly?
We might have to. And actually, I think that's a pretty interesting point. We could reach out to both MASS and MASC to see if this part of the policy needs to be in, or if we can have a statement saying that we will advertise any approved programs that Neshoba Valley is currently running.
Well, I think if you just start, right now it says that only on Chapter 74 approved programs. We're not the approval. I think if you just dump everything after that.
So that's just a boilerplate thing. That's not
whatever
what they
they're
actually
approved
have.
to do, they can do. And we can just dump all the rest of that stuff out of there.
Policy and advertising.
What'd you say, Charlie?
And so there's a difference between policy and advertising.
Right.
I'm not sure this
Right.
isn't the advertisement.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's intended to be that way. I just
No.
think it's more of a list of what their programs are. But the
Right.
reality is that Chapter 74 is the list that's going to be updated, so
Right.
just follow Chapter 74.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
It's like
Yeah.
a program of studies.
It's like a program of studies, which would be their own approval, not our approval. So that's why it just seemed like, yes, we have to let them do this, 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 and this, and that would be in our policy. And then what they do is in their policy.
Right, I think that's why Jim just recommended, just removing the programs and making a
Maybe
statement that
the
just
Chapter
says what's
74
approved.
approved programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would,
Other than that, it makes sense exactly what you guys said, because essentially, my understanding is, based upon what you said, we're creating the policy because we need the policy. These are things we're already doing. We're just essentially creating the policy, adding in the maintenance of records because it's a requirement now. That's correct, okay. That would be the only, I guess, thing, is the suggestion that Jim made. We take out the programs, that way we don't have to continue to update it annually
Right.
unless it's a requirement.
like, oh, we don't do that anymore. Can our kids also go, so there were kids who went to Monty Tech because there wasn't a program at Neshoba Valley that they wanted.
I believe that would be school choice.
Oh, so they do that just as school
I
choice?
believe. Is that?
No. A resident of ASRSD didn't have the academics they wanted at Neshoba, they could go to another vocational district,
Right, that's what I thought. And it was
and the
just,
town would have to pay for transportation if they go.
right, it's just like a school choice thing, the town has to pay transportation. Have they changed that?
They still require transportation to be part of it, but a lot of the parents will decide to do it, and then we used to reimburse the
And
parents
for driving?
with the IRS rate, yep.
We want to lay out I mean, outside of that one change, the only other thing I could see on here that we may want to add in these maintenance of records, we may want to put in there on who's responsible for doing that. So as you put in you hire somebody for job descriptions for the vice principal, you could say, oh, by the way, you are now the czar of making sure that this is in a file somewhere.
We can add that.
I'm not trying to get on the bad side of the vice principal, I'm just saying they get tasked with a lot of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I would actually probably put this on the principal, and then they can delegate that to the assistant principal if they so need. But if they don't do it, much like, well, I guess my job, if it doesn't get done, it stops with me, right?
Yeah, pretty much, and it's going to be, I mean, only has to be available for DESI request, and nobody's looking for this. But you put it in there so you could just say, well, next time you should be better at it. But I think we should just pick somebody and say, the principal, middle school principal, or whoever you think, not Charlie. Who you just want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Doesn't mean any rules, like, but I mean, that's very simple. We're going to take this list right here and put that into
Good.
a little check sheet with a signature and a date when it happened, and I don't see this being much of an issue.
So this is the first reading, so it'll come back for,
Yeah, we can make those changes and we can bring this back. We have to, we are supposed to upload this into CHAMPS by November 1st. If for some reason we can't get this approved before then, we can't ask for an extension. But, really, this feels like a
I didn't hear you.
November 1st, so we can get this on the next agenda with those changes approval. And this really this feels like a retaliatory policy for the lottery that is happening for the CT.
And I think right now, I don't know how Air is, but I think Shirley now has no reps. Because the one that we had is now
I went to the,
moved back to Kentucky, or not back to, West Virginia rather. He's in
I went
West
to the,
Virginia, so we
town
now have
manager
no
on
rep there. I don't know, I think Air just has pro.
We have one.
You have one, right?
I was notified by a member of the Neshoba Tech School Committee that we had no rep from Shirley, and I did pass that on to the town, that it would be a good idea if they did that. I don't know if it's anything or not, but
We will be watching closely how this goes this year. Right now, what has happened the last few years is we have there, almost every kid that has wanted to, I believe every student that's wanted to attend the short tech was able to. Our numbers are actually going down between the both towns. But now that it is a lottery, there is a possibility that that number could go up if there's more, and we'll watch that, and if we believe
Are they six towns or
need
seven
to-
towns?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at that list, but if that spikes for some reason, we may come to you to advocate for whoever the school committee reps are in Shore Tech to change that.
To be members, we need members on the board.
Well, and to have a percentage of students to take from each member town rather than just a loose lottery. No one right now is foreseeing that being an issue, but I think that's something that could be an issue in the future. Right now, it's very reasonable. I think they take 20 to 30 students a year from us, but if that went up to 50 or 60, that would be a problem for us. We would need to be able to budget for that. So we will be watching it closely the next few years, and we will come with recommendations.
So is your lottery based on the number of, on your population, therefore number of students they will take from that
Not this time.
residential group?
It's just a lottery for every student. There are some things that are allowed to wait on. I believe attendance is one. If you're not chronically absent, you get an additional 2 tickets instead of 1. If you're chronically absent, you just get 1. Yeah, it's,
Oh, I get you. So they got away from, like, we're not letting that kid in because he was chronically absent.
well,
Which they did
that
in the
would have been a
past.
disqualifier for sure before at some tech schools. Yeah. And discipline would be another. Yeah, but this overall should be probably a more fair system overall. But again, not to.
We don't know till
The
now.
Neshoba Tech was pretty ethical, in my opinion, how, at least since I've been here working with their superintendent, did business.
So that's a good thing to say, Jen, about not having a Shirley rep. So I'll address that again tomorrow and see if it's going on, because we need to do it hard. Okay. So this is, we don't, except first reading, we just do it, right? Excellent. Moving right along. Would you like to finish your superintendent's
I would love
report,
to.
Dr.
Thank you.
Randall?
So we have some good news.
Yay!
The PSAT, the cost has come down drastically. So when it was a paper test, it was actually much more expensive than it is currently. Right now, our estimated cost for the PSAT is $1,548. It is all online. That has decreased the cost tremendously. We expect that cost actually to go down when we have the full number of students taking it. We don't expect every student to take that, which would bring this down minimally. But at that cost, we are going to be funding that and not asking parents to pay that. But we do also have some other numbers for you. In your packet, there is a copy of the PSAT notice that is going home to parents. We don't host the SAT here. So our students have to go to other high schools to take the SAT. And I have some numbers for last year's AP exam. So the invoice for last year was $14,990. We had 99 students who took 173 exams. And the students paid $99 per exam. We had 15 exams that were waived for 8 different students for a financial need. And we do have an enrollment update. For any questions on that?
I have a question, but it's related to and I know we won't have data on this because we haven't done it. For the SAT process, is that similar to if we were to host an event? Let me be specific. So if we were to host an SAT event, is that always, is there any benefit financial benefit to hosting the SATs? Because what I did notice with Rihanna this year is there's been a number of sites that have closed. So I was curious to see, is it that hosting the SAT is costing schools much more than it, does it bring in any money, I guess what I'm trying to do is entertain whether or not it would be wise for us to do that.
So I don't know. I would, if Mr. Cleary has any experience with that, we can find out. But I don't know offhand if that would generate any revenue.
And the only reason that I was asking is just because there was an article that was sent out, so like on the parent side, because they had to kind of put an alert out to parents last week, because last Saturday was when Rihanna went to Leominster, but there was another article that came out to parents just saying, we're highlighting that we've had to close, I guess, a number of places, and they were trying to make the parents aware. So I was just curious if there is a financial benefit to becoming a SAT. You know, I can't see one, but I don't know.
I don't think that there is. Like when we, from a professional development standpoint, if we like host a person coming into the district and they give us a fee that they charge us, whatever that fee is for the day, and we invite people from surrounding towns to also participate with that, we might upcharge the surrounding towns for that. Like, SAT, you can't do that. So the test is the test, and the school district has to provide the proctors and the supports and everything else. So I don't believe that there's, I mean, I have to look.
Right.
But I don't believe that there's an additional financial benefit to hosting as opposed to sending your kids to the nearest town.
Sorry, I didn't cut you off. Would there be like a discounted rate for a PSAT, like whatever the fees are that are associated if we became a host site? Have you guys ever heard of anything like that where there? I didn't think so, but I figured I'd ask.
I have never heard of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So we can look it up. We'll find out.
So the other thing, like, we're graduating, let's say, 100 kids a year, right? SAT you take once, right? Take PSAT and the SAT maybe.
Well, students take SAT two or three times.
2 or 3 times? Glutton for punishment. If we had, depending on the percentage, 99 students took 173 exams last year. Those were SAT and PSAT?
No, those are AP
That's
exams.
AP exam.
Oh, the AP exams, excuse me, I'm sorry. That's wrong. Is it any advantage to our students if we had SAT here? Is where I'm going.
Financially?
No, humanly.
Well, a familiar test taking place, possibly. Good. I mean, we can look into that.
Just serving the students, that's all. And, you know, she said she has to go to Leominster. Well, I know kids who would throw it if they had to go someplace else. But Thank you.
Sure.
So it's fine, the numbers are fine.
Okay.
Outrageous.
So we have a sports update. I was hoping actually Mr. Kendall would be here to do that. But before I start with the official sports update, girls volleyball won tonight. I got the thumbs up from the coaches as they were walking by. They played, Shepherd Hill. The last time we played Shepherd Hill, they got killed, is what I was told when I went up to check it up before the meeting. And they won in a very tight match. When I came in right before the start of the meeting as I was watching the game, and it was tied 18-18, so they pulled it up. In other exciting news, the boys soccer team beat Clinton tonight, and that clinched the league for them. So that was a close game. It was 1-1 when Mr. Clear and I were walking in from the school committee meeting. So great news tonight here in Shirley High School.
Final was 3-1.
3-1.
3-1.
Great.
3-1?
3-1.
Soccer?
We took it.
Yeah. So now we'll get to the official sports update. So the fall has been very exciting as the numbers continue to be strong, and all of our athletes are working incredibly hard. Boys soccer is currently ranked 6th in the state in Division 4 with a 10-0-1 record. With 12 seniors, the Panthers have a real shot at making a deep playoff run. These soccer players are also some of our best fans, supporting our teams, other teams as well. JV soccer is also going well with 18 players and a 4-2-2 record. Girls soccer has played hard against a tough schedule, currently with a 3-6 record after an exciting win over Gardner. The team has battled injury and inexperience and hopes to make a solid run in the second half of the season. JV girls are playing well with 22 players. Wow, that's a huge team for such a small school. On JV and 12 underclassmen on the varsity, the future looks bright. Volleyball is having one of its best seasons ever with a 9-2 record. The team is led by a solid group of seniors, is one win away from officially qualifying from the state playoffs, which means they qualified tonight. Good job, ladies, for the second straight year. We have 2 JV teams this fall with 36 total players that looks to continue moving forward thanks to the efforts of Sarah Ernst and Andrew Tavares, both of whom have worked hard to create a youth program through the Recreation Department. So thank you for that. And the stands are packed for the volleyball games. Football is currently ranked 7th in the state with a 1-2 record. We have 30 high school athletes participating and another 6 middle school students that help our JV team. We have 3 straight home games coming up: October 10th versus Southbridge, October 17th versus Lunenburg, and homecoming weekend on October 24th versus Southbridge. October 17th versus Lunenburg and homecoming weekend on the 24th versus Worcester Tech. Sorry, there was a typo there. We will recognize this year's Air Shirley Hall of Fame inductees on October 10th, and Jeff Thomas on winning the MIAA Joe Rodriguez Award on October 17th. That's fantastic. Our golf team is 12-1, is on the verge of their 5th straight league title. They will look to defend their state and sectional titles beginning October 14th at sections at Shining Rock and Northbridge. Senior Reed Onation looks to defend his individual Division III state title as well. Their senior recognition day was last Thursday. JV Golf has also competed well. Cross country is having another strong season. The girls are 6-0 while the boys are 4-2. League championships are coming up in mid-October, while both teams hope to qualify for districts and state competitions. Both teams will celebrate their senior recognition tomorrow afternoon. Middle school soccer is also going well. That's the theme. Fall sports are going very well. Numbers are solid. The teams have been extremely competitive. Thank you, coaches Jalen Griffin and Brian Dusk. Middle school cross country is doing well. Runners are improving under the footage of Andrew St. Germain and Kelly Reed. Unified basketball is just getting ready to start. We will be hosting 2 home games over the next few weeks. If you haven't been to a unified basketball game, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best things that we do. And that is all for the sports report. And the superintendent's report.
And that's a good way to end the superintendent's report.
Good stuff.
Ongoing business. Update on the superintendent's 2025-26 goals. Dr. Rinda.
Thank you. I'm going to give an update on the first 2 goals that I had presented at the last school committee meeting, and I had left out student outcomes, which I was extremely embarrassed about. And we did add an additional goal. So goal 1 is about student identification and intervention tracking for academics. This goal is aligned to DESE standards of curriculum instruction, assessment, student support, and leadership and governance. What this really does is it just establishes a consistent district-wide system to identify support for students whose needs are not fully met in Tier 1. So this probably won't affect our really high flyers, and it might not affect some of our students with really complex needs that might be in special education. But for students who just have some barriers that are stopping them from reaching their full academic potential, it could be something simple, right? Or it could be more complex. And what we're looking to design, or what we have designed, and we're looking to turn into a system, is a way for students to get assistance with these students without having to do 3 hours worth of paperwork and pull every expert that we have in the district into a meeting, because sometimes it's not that hard. So part of this will be done through what is called an academic assistance team, where a teacher can fill out a form. It's a Google form that should take them about 2 minutes to fill out, and that should get a response to them, just asking more details as what's going on, what does the kid need, what person can we bring in to help create an action plan to remove whatever the barrier is. And it's really that simple. I have done this in schools that I've been principal of. I have done this in schools, in other schools where I was a central office administrator, and it can have a really big impact. We are doing it in pockets here, in all of our schools. What we don't have yet is a unified system and a sharing of resources and things that are working district-wide, and that's really what I'm looking to fix with this goal. So the outcomes, because I did go into a lot more detail last time, but I want 100% of the schools using this, and when I say 100% of the schools, I mean the schools that will be using it, which will be both elementary schools and the middle school. The high school is running their own system already that with student success plans that is working fairly well. And that 90% of the students identified will have a documented action plan. So the measurable outcome, the student growth on this is I'm hoping that at least 70% of the students that we put on an action plan will show an improvement in reading and math, moving one benchmark level based on our internal assessment. So for elementary school, that's the STAR assessment. We do the STAR assessment 3 times a year. We do it in the fall, winter, and spring. So the benchmark would be in the fall. My expectation is for a student, what I'm thinking that we will be able to do is when a student is benchmarked in the fall, and then they are identified to need one of these really low-level action plans, that student will end up moving one benchmark level. So for STAR, that is labeled as urgent intervention, intervention on watch. We would want them, or I believe they will move to at or above benchmark in reading or math. That's just how STAR labels that. For middle school, that is, we would be looking for a measurable improvement of 2+ grade levels below, or 1 grade level below towards early on grade level, or higher in reading or math. Okay, so really I expect them to move at least one benchmark level if they are put on an action plan. The terminology is different for the different tests. Any questions on that? Okay.
Anyone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what is your perception of 100 kids, what percent of those students across the board would you expect to interact with?
How many students are we going
Okay, I've got
to put on
100
an
kids.
action?
I've got everybody in 3rd grade. I have under 100 kids. And I have these kids that we want to see them move up. In our population, is that 20% of the kids sitting in those rooms? Is it 10%, 5%? What percentage application do you see being approached?
So we have about 18% of our kiddos on special education. Now, not saying that a student in special education couldn't be talked about in an academic assistance. They could, right? And then we have about another 15 or 20% who are at or above benchmark, and teachers probably don't have a lot of concerns, right? So that leaves somewhere about 60% of the students who are in the middle, right?
Right.
But not all 60% are going to need this. It's probably about 10% of the grade level. So maybe if we're going to use Page Hilltop, because that's the easiest, it's about 100 kids at grade level. It's a little bit less than that. Maybe 10 kids per grade level. So at Page, that would be about 60 kids.
Yeah.
That would be something like this.
I'm just curious, because you kind of need to know
Absolutely,
what your baseline is.
All right, and if it was anything more than that, this probably...
And it could vary from year to year.
It could.
We have the kids
It could
coming out
vary
of
from
COVID.
grade level to grade level. One grade level might have 20 kids that we need to talk about. There could be a grade level that maybe only has 5. But really, what is valuable about this is we're talking about barriers to kids learning, and we're trying to remove them. And we're going to track it, right? So what we're going to end up with is we're going to end up with a toolbox and profiles of kids who have had barriers and things that we've done that doesn't require special education evaluation, probably doesn't require any funding, that's going to help those students. So really by doing this, we're going to be building everybody's capacity on how to remove these barriers to learning for all kids. And that's the valuable part of it. It's like, in a way, this is PD for teachers and for administrators without doing the PD, right? Because we're going to try different things that we know have worked for some kids in the past. And eventually, what we're hoping to happen is that teachers will learn some of these things that have worked for kids in the past and not even have to do the academic assistance team either,
No,
right? They're just going to do it. So that's really the benefit. It's building agency, it's building a repertoire of different plans that you can do to help to remove a barrier. And this is for the more low-hanging fruit, right? So it's not for kids who have a severe need. That's what the STAT process in special education is for, and even 504 plans to some degree. But this is for, I'm a veteran teacher, I'm moving every other kid. Joyce should be able to move. I'm not sure what's going on. She's bright. She's got there's something in the way, I can't figure it out.
But I want to go play, I really don't.
Maybe, Mr. Cleary had Joyce last year. She was flying. I'm going to bring him to this academic assistance team so I can figure out what he did with her. And we can get her back on track and moving forward, right? Because it's not just about our high flyers going to, applying to Harvard and MIT and BU, but it's
So
about...
we're really, you see more of an effectiveness in, I would think, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, where you can see more than when you get more complex.
It could be, but I mean,
things.
the 7th and 8th grade is really, and freshman year is really interesting with this too, because you will have kids who are like high flyers in math, and then when you get to algebra, right, and that abstract reasoning, sometimes that can be a barrier. And if they're not ready for that, this type, you know it's not special education, but why are they stumped in Algebra 1 and they're killing geometry, right? What can we do? What can we do to help this student who doesn't need special education, but there's a barrier?
Right.
What can we do? Right. And so, do I know the answer to that?
No.
No. I was an elementary and a middle school teacher, and I only taught math a little bit. But hopefully our math teachers will know that, and they can help each other and come up with these action plans for these kids.
I think that would really work in writing. Where you figured you wanted to work extra in writing. This is where lack of history and practice and...
Yeah, having run programs like this in the past, they absolutely work. Just the conversation and focusing and talking about the student is going to help. But tracking it and getting a record of what has worked is what's going to be extremely valuable. Any other questions on that?
No.
So the next goal to the school mental health work is it's actually a very similar goal, but it's focusing on mental health and well-being rather than academics. We're actually running these meetings really well in all 4 of our schools, but we are lacking in our community partnerships and some of the more clinical approach, which is why I have applied for the school mental health leadership. Actually, Mrs. Bozick has applied to that too, so she's going to be a partner with this. Kristen Campione was in that last year, so she will be a part. And we threw this out to school counselors, and we have one at Page Hilltop who's applied. We have a school counselor at the middle school applied, and both school counselors at Laura White. So we have a good team to be part of this. And really, like I said, we have a lot of these pieces that we're doing to provide mental health supports and well-being supports for our students, but it's not a system yet. We are expecting some academic outcomes from this. It's not really the main outcome that we want to measure, but when you remove the social, emotional, and mental health barrier from a student, they're going to be available to learn, and instruction will be more effective. So I do expect students who are utilizing some of the supports that are already in place and will be in place will move at least one benchmark, both in STAR and iReady, very similar to the academic. I know you've heard me say this before, but when we have to apply the right intervention for the need. When you apply an academic intervention for a social emotional need, you're not going to get improvement. But when you apply a social emotional intervention to a social emotional need, you will get better academic outcomes. Really though, it's going to be hard, even if we see that improvement, to say that it was absolutely the social emotional intervention. So the other things that I want to look at, and they're really the main measurable outcomes for kids, I want to see reduction in discipline referrals. That's really across the board, not just for the students that are utilizing the interventions, because when other students are behaving, other students will behave, right? So if the ringleader, so to speak, if we have a kid in crisis who is making some bad choices, lots of other kids around them will tend to also make bad choices. So across the board, I think we can see a 15% in discipline referrals. I want to look at students who are utilizing the interventions to reduce the number of nurses visits for emotional distress and improves attendance among the supported students too. So we're going to look at a reduction in discipline referrals, a reduction in nurses visits, and improved attendance for those students. And that's going to, if we can get that improvement on attendance, that will help the accountability with the chronic absenteeism. And actually, all of this is very easy to monitor through both Aspen and SNAP. And that is something I had forgotten to mention in the superintendent's report that I added. I'll come back to that after this, if you don't mind. We do need to provide professional development to the staff that will be running these interventions. That's mainly the school counselors. The good news is most of them have applied to be in this institute with me. So hopefully if everyone gets in, that will be very easy to do. And something that we're going to do for both the academic interventions and for goal 2, the mental health, is when we create an action plan or put a kid into a social emotional intervention, we will be contacting the family both to inform them and to get input, and then we will be giving them a survey right after about how they felt about the communication and the implementation of that plan. A little nervous, honestly, about doing that, because typically if things go pretty good, parents don't fill out a survey. If things go great, they do, and if things go terrible, they do. So we're going to try to kind of stay on them to get a really clear picture of that, not just the two bookends, right? Of, it was great, it's the best thing you ever did for my kid, or this was the worst plan ever, it didn't work at all.
Yes, ma'am.
The one thing I was just thinking as you were talking about that for balancing, just in the mental health space, because in compliance we have to keep track of that. So what we did is we basically navigated our questions in a specific way so that it was very specific up front. So it couldn't just be, you know, I thought the service was bad and it may be because there's a disagreement on maybe an intervention, but it may be more specific, such as were 3 out of 4 of the interventions applicable to my child? If there was a disagreement on an intervention, so we could highlight, and then that way you see the data trend a little bit better, because of course we know when you have those broad questions, that's exactly what happens. You get the 2 extremes. But if you specify a little bit better, and it helps. And then also we had feedback from our providers that were a part of the treatment team. So like when you're doing your teacher's assessment, another thing that might happen is, you know how sometimes your memory's lost on a Friday, and so maybe there was week 2 the kid was really great, and then week 3 it was half of the week, and then the child was very difficult the second half of the week, and the teacher does the assessment on Friday, and all of a sudden it's a bad week and they might forget. So like having those promptings there to like cause someone to think a little bit helped. And then like as a suggestion in your teacher evaluation and interaction with the parents, so you can kind of see both sides through the data, might help you a little bit. And just simple questions, not 53,000, but that way you're kind of getting a good balance between the parent, the teacher, or even an administrator when you're looking at those interventions, so that the data doesn't get too skewed, even though we know it kind of always does. But
if you have an example, I'd love to see it. We do have draft surveys out, and I will share those with school committee so they can see that. But I would agree, the more specific those questions can be, probably the more reliable that data would be, and probably the more willing they'd be to fill it out.
Surveys are extremely tricky to write.
Yeah.
Because you want to slant them. You thought everything was good, right? Yes.
We'll try not to do that. So there is an additional goal from the last time. Actually, our strategic plan, our 3-year strategic plan, is coming to an end this year. So I did add this goal, and really just to kind of summarize the plan. There aren't going to be any measurable student outcomes for this. There are measurable student outcomes in the strategic plan. So really what we want to do is create a public outcomes report for the strategic plan 23 through 26 and share that out with the community and school committee, and launch the 27 through 2032. We'd like to go to a 5-year strategic plan using some of the data from the closeout of the 23 to 26 strategic plan, and through having some forums with parents, some surveys, interviews with the school committee, teachers, our administrators, to see where we want to start driving the district moving forward. I'm certain there will be some through lines through this, and I'm sure there will be some new priorities. So really what we need to do is collect and report the progress across the 4 domains from this strategic plan. If you remember, those were curriculum instruction, social emotional learning, special education, and culture, climate, capacity. And that last one was kind of like a hodgepodge of everything that didn't fit into those first 3. We will report out where we are on those priorities to the school committee, and that wherever we are with those will inform the strategic plan moving forward. We need to engage with our collaborators to know where the school committee and the parents and members of the town really want us to drive this district for the next 5 years. We can do that through, again, I've said this, but surveys, forums, committee input, and then reflecting on DESI standards, which we try to do, I've tried to do for all of these goals. We hope to publish the strategic plan outcome report by May of 2026 and present to the school committee the drafts of the 27 through 2032 in September of 2026. So we want to establish clear benchmarks and progress monitoring dashboards by the fall, and ongoing accountability and improvement, for ongoing accountability and improvement. Do you have any questions? That's a new goal that I did not present to the last time. Any questions I can answer on that? And is the committee okay with the 5-year strategic plan? 3 years was quick.
Yeah.
I think it was too quick. Do you have thoughts on that? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I felt like you thought it was quick too. Maybe not.
I think that, I think 5 years is a long time to project out. I think 3 years gives you a window, especially if we're continuing. I'm not disagreeing.
No,
Just proposing. So given that the plan that we had was 3, and I feel like we have some elements on that we can continue, that we've learned from.
Absolutely.
You know, framing that as a 5 can work. Framing it as a 3 can work.
Tim? Anybody? 5 seems like a long time to me, but it's like you can have a whole turnover almost in your committee in 5. So your continuity is not necessarily there. Your history, your working together, 5 becomes a lot because you're going to potentially lose 2 people every year. So.
Well, we did 5 because we figured that would bring you through your next term.
Right. Keep talking. I
had to try.
Because our things are 3, and so you tend to have, we've been very fortunate to have such good committees that are totally for the school and totally for the advancement of the school. And I've never had anybody who was not in that mindset. So, but 5 seems like, what year are we talking about here? So and there's just so much stuff going on in the world. Who knows where anybody's going to be in 5 years. So I think 3 there's memory there that people are working on, but that's just maybe me, and these guys are younger.
We're open. It felt like to me the 3 years flew by.
It did fly by.
Good, that's good.
Yeah.
Flying by is good.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Successes that you can measure right away. I think then you forget about some of the long-term ones. How do you stay hot on them?
Yeah.
So rethink that.
Well, that's not going to, we don't need to decide that now, and we don't, we really need to gather the data and see where everybody, what the direction we want to push and pull. So we'll stop there, and if 5 years is too long, we can make it 3, and if not, we can keep it 5.
I think once you go through the closeout of what you got going on for them, the answer to that will become readily apparent.
Yeah. Right.
I would say instead of a 5-year strategic plan, I would think that something about the overall goals of where of what our ideals are might be an interesting examination, so that you don't get people who are picking something apart and with people who are going the right feelings and attitudes. And you were talking about other school committees. You know how lucky you are to have
No complaints from us. I've watched other school committee meetings, and I'm thankful
You hear about it
that
at this- you hear about
the
it.
discussion is always about what is best for kids, or budget.
Thank you. Do we want to approve, and we're all holding on goal 3, I think. You want to approve goal 1 and 2 and let him work on 3?
Well, I think Jim's recommendation was good, because then that way we don't need to change the goal. He would be able to update his goal if he wanted to after he's done his work. So I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent's 2025-2026 goals as presented tonight.
Second.
Any other discussion, any other questions
Not any.
before we take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Better than last time. 2 steps forward.
Well, we had a sparse agenda, and I rushed to get those done. So that's my excuse, but I should have had student outcomes.
Should have had what?
I should have had student outcomes on both of those goals. So my apologies for not having them the first time, and I appreciate the reminder.
We can always redo them. We can always upgrade. Ongoing business, we did that. Chairman's notes, I have none. Topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting. I am going to have a chairman's note, excuse me. The Holden Wood Run was awesome. James Rinda came and did it at age 3.
Oh, he's
He
4.
finished way, oh, he's 4. Finished way before I did. They were gone, packed in their car and left before I was still breathing hard. But we did a great 2K, right?
He was on my shoulders for the majority of it, but he did finish it.
Well, we had a 3-year-old with us.
Yeah.
And parents, and that was fun. And so we spent a lot of time actually looking at leaves and mushrooms, because she was collecting leaves and giving them to me. So that's my excuse for taking forever to do a 2K.
My line was that he did an inventory of every acorn on that trail. Yeah.
And anybody who missed it, it was a glorious day, and you shouldn't have missed it. It was really awesome. So that would be my chairman's notes.
I did have one unanticipated item. The parent portal for Aspen will be launching this Thursday. Parents will receive an email on how to log in, and they will be able to see attendance and grades as of this Thursday. So that has been a hot topic. It has taken a bit longer than we had anticipated to get that up and running. Aspen needs to speak with several different programs, and we had some hiccups with that. So my apologies to families who haven't been able to check on grades up until this point, but that should be rectified again this Thursday. And thank you to Mr. Tebow and all of the tech department for getting that up and running. Overall, we are much happier with Aspen.
Do we have a need for executive session tonight?
We do.
We do. Okay. I would entertain a motion to close regular session to go into executive session. The executive session will not have, we will not make any votes, and will return to open session after the executive session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
I make a motion of exactly what Joyce just said, because I know I will mess it up.
I think I did it okay. It's been a while.
All right.
So we will take about a 3 or 4 minute recess to allow people to leave, and we can just stay here.
You got to vote it.
Is there a motion for that? You did?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie.